Welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Gerald Tabb. If this is your first time tuning in, feel free to go back and view previous episodes when you get time. There was a man I knew once. It's not my father. Not formally. But in the ways that mattered most. He moved like the kind of person who had already walked the corners of the world I had yet to discover. He knew people, knew systems, knew the paths that I couldn't yet see. He invested in me financially, emotionally, morally, not because he had to, but because he believed I could become someone who didn't let hunger for money, for status, for approval, derail the life he saw waiting for me. I miss him. And in missing him, I've discovered that death can teach more than life ever could. Not because he's gone, but because the absence leaves space to see what he left behind. The scaffolding of thought, of values, of choices, of care. He was educated, yes, but not in the way the world measures education. He was fluent in people, their hopes, their limitations, their quietest unspoken truths. He created paths that weren't obvious, turned doors that seemed locked into hallways I could walk with confidence. He knew me better than I knew myself, understood my hunger before I even had the words to describe it. And he treated that hunger with respect, teaching me how to feed it without being devoured by it. I think about how generous he was. Generous enough to allow a boy from a fractured family, steeped in generational resentment, to experience what it meant to be held in care, in guidance, in love. He offered not only a model of manhood, but glimpses of generational motherhood, leadership, education, and a community that believed in growth. He was a kind of man who loved his own father so fiercely that when death took him, he struggled to exist without the anchor of that bond. And yet, he endured because he saw strength in the woman who raised him, the communities that held him, and in me. Grief arrived quietly, unannounced. It didn't break me, not at first. It settled like soft snow on my chest, heavy but luminous, cold but crystalline. In its absence, I noticed patterns I had ignored, the carefulness in my own decisions, the compassion I could extend without prompting, the attention to detail that wasn't innate, but taught. I began to see that mental health doesn't just survive loss. It grows through it. It recalibrates. Death, in this sense, became a mentor of its own. It showed me the fragility of human life. Yes, but also the power of inheritance beyond genetics, the inheritance of trust, wisdom, and expectation. It taught me that the mind can honor a person by living the principles they instilled, by walking the paths they opened, by carrying forward lessons that can't be contained in memory alone. I remember walking through the streets of my city, thinking of him, imagining the cadence of his voice explaining the small, strategic victories in life. The need to protect curiosity, the value of integrity when the world rewards compromise. I realized that even in death, he continued to teach. Through the frameworks he had built for me, through the invisible scaffolds of understanding, I could now see without his physical presence. There's a strange clarity in loss, an unintentional mentorship. Where I once had relied on him for guidance, I now relied on myself, but through him, every decision, every risk, every investment in people or projects is now filtered through the lens he created. And in that filtering, my mental resilience strengthened. Grief sharpened awareness, made gratitude more acute, made self-doubt a little quieter, because the man who believed in me still believed through me. I've begun to understand that death has a positive way of imprinting on the mind. It amplifies what matters. It teaches boundaries without saying a word. It focuses attention on priorities that are timeless: integrity, care, curiosity, community, and love. In the emptiness left behind, there's space to grow, to measure oneself against the standards set not by fear, but by devotion, by mentorship, by example. It's strange. The mental landscape after someone like that is gone is both sacred and fertile. Anxiety still visits, but it's tempered by memory. Regret whispers, but it's often drowned by lessons learned in real time, in life, in action. I find myself more patient, more precise, more willing to step into responsibility, because the blueprint he left me is now my own, and I walk it consciously. I see now that mourning is not the opposite of joy. It is a conduit to it. Through reflection on his life and death, I can experience joy in action, in growth, in mentorship extended to others. Every kind gesture I perform, every investment I make in another life is a tribute, a mental reinforcement, a neural imprint of his wisdom encoded in my behavior. In this way, death rewires the mind in subtle ways. It teaches appreciation. It teaches purpose. It teaches endurance. It challenges the brain to hold sorrow and gratitude simultaneously, to sit in tension without collapsing, to become fluent in the language of legacy. Sometimes I speak aloud to him when I feel overwhelmed, not because I expect an answer, but because articulating the memory, the influence, the lessons, releases neurotransmitters that calm the nervous system. I hear the echo of his patience in my own voice, and it steadies me. I remember how he invested, how he trusted, how he loved with discretion and discipline. That investment, now internalized, becomes a model for my own interactions. My mental health, once raw and reactive, now carries a blueprint for reflection and action. He taught me to honor life in practical, observable ways. Death, in removing the man himself, teaches that this honor is not sentimental, it's operational. It's how the mind maintains structure and meaning in the absence of the person who gave it form. And so I live with a dual awareness. I grieve, yes, but I also thrive in his absence. I notice the inheritance of wisdom, not just biology, the inheritance of intention, not just genetics. I recognize the way mental health can evolve positively after a loved one passes, because the mind now carries a legacy consciously rather than unconsciously. I don't miss him as a burden, but as a compass. I don't mourn him as an end, but as a continuation. His guidance folded into my choices, my patience, my attentiveness to others. I understand that death, in its silent, immutable way, offers a paradoxical gift. Absence becomes presence. Loss becomes instruction. Grief becomes resilience. I walk through my city differently now. I notice small acts of grace, small opportunities to invest in people the way he invested in me. I mentor, I protect, I guide, not to replicate him, but to honor him. And in doing so, I feel the mental health benefits: clarity, purpose, focus, gratitude, and a subtle, constant joy in carrying forward the invisible teachings of someone who believed enough in me to live as my silent mentor. Even from beyond the threshold of life, death, I realize, can shape the mind in profoundly positive ways, not by erasing sorrow, but by teaching reflection, attention, and intentional action, not by taking away, but by leaving space for growth, wisdom, and inherited purpose. And in the quiet hours of memory, I whisper thanks to the man who taught me life without being my father, whose absence now instructs me in ways his presence can never have.